if we were to, let's just use this, we have an example detached window already. And I think this is really the crucial part of ThinkOrSwim charts for people to understand. If we're detaching and using a traditional grid, we're obviously limited to a grid-like structure. So this makes sense if you're trying to make a bunch of different small windows that you can observe the performance intraday or multi-day across a number of symbols at one time. But this is also like the most manual and the most rudimentary of how you're going to be viewing a bunch of charts. It allows you to quickly, at a glance, if you have the screen space, be able to follow many intraday charts. Obviously, I'd be getting rid of a lot of these labels if we were going to be filling out each of these, 28 or so. I think if we're going to be doing more of like the detailed view, let's actually do this. We're going to kill this grid set. We're going to go back and we're going to start with, do I have anything in flexible grid right now? I do. Okay, interesting. So we're going to start and just clone this and then clear it. So let's do this real fast. We're going to detach to charts, and we will start killing these. So up in the grid actions button, we're going to go to customize grid, and we're going to start clearing all these additional charts. So there is a button for sidebar, which is going to be useful to us in a second. Sidebar brings up your different types of window creation, whereas the kind of customized grid button, this floating window that you observe here, which will allow us to either create a chart below, create a chart to the right, or to delete or destroy the chart itself. So why don't we start with one of the kind of most common setups, I would argue, which is like the multi-time frame deep dive. And I think depending on the way your screen is sort of laid out, I'd probably set it up simply just like this. One main detail intraday chart, followed by two smaller linked charts. And so the way we'd achieve that is by going up to the symbol link button. We'll choose this. We'll go back to, oops, can't type. Go back to Apple Intraday. We'll make sure we choose the same linked channel, but we're going to change the time frames of these charts. So we're going to go to a 20-day, 5-minute, maybe something like a 90-day, 30-minute. And now with each of these, we have other options. If we wanted to, for example, we could pull in something that would allow us to actually trade from the chart, like the active trader module. And this is how I personally trade. This is how I recommend other people trade within ThinkOrSwim, but it depends on the size of your screen. So right now you guys are looking at a very, very big monitor I have. So I've got a lot of extra space here. But we could feasibly have everything we want to see on about one screen. We have the detail of our intraday chart. We have our order execution, right? And then we have context and kind of higher time frame context still. The point being, our goal is to get everything that we could possibly want with one type of a ticker away. So if we were to say, show me what Tesla's up to lately, we not only would have, and of course this would include, let's go to the view app, and we'll add aspect, we'll add intraday, and that should be good for now. Now if we wanted to, because we've got flexibility with the grid, we could add another window. We could tie the ticker the same way, but rather than, and let's actually do this, I'm going to zoom in or maximize on this cell so we can focus on this for a second. Rather than applying a chart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the live news functionality. And I don't know if we have enough room for level 2, but let's go ahead and zoom into that. Yeah, that's actually not ideal. Because notice, we can't quite see, this is very crunched up in space-wise, and same with the news here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom back in on that window, and we're going to do away with the level 2. We're going to add something below it, link the same ticker, but this time, instead of it being live news, we're going to click on level 2. Get rid of the sidebar. Get rid of the sidebar for all these different charts. And then we can resize this kind of accordingly, right? So we've got a quick view of the level 2 if we wanted that routing information. We've got all the news that's related to that ticker on the fly. So let's do this now. If we go away, customize grid. There we go. And that's kind of on the fly how I would think about wanting to trade. You might want to move, obviously, all of your main screen off to the right and have your minor detail view off to the left-hand side or along the top row. But I've found this to be pretty effective. It also keeps centered the actual sort of trading interface that I'd want. Something kind of similar to this that you could do as well for more, let's say, analytical rather than trading. So let's say it's after hours, you're doing some swing trade review, or you're eager to set up something that you're not sure you want to enter yet, you just want to observe and do some more analysis on. What you could do then is, let's go back to customize grid. And let me think about what I want to do here. I want to turn off active trader. This is going to become right. Okay. Sidebar, sidebar. And we need to maximize this. We don't want the level 2. We do want a chart. Sorry, you'll see where I'm going with this in just a moment, everyone. I appreciate all y'all's patience. Level 2. Here we want the chart, not level 2. Exactly. Okay, these are roughly going to be evenly spaced. Okay, looking good. So now we do away with customization. And the benefit here is that by unlinking these windows, you can set up the time frames to be either market context for you. So for example, let's say we wanted to know at any given time what SPY was doing on a given time frame. Maybe this is less of the analytical kind of after hours or swing trading view, but maybe this is your just detailed analysis prior to getting in a trade. You might want crude oil, which we're probably going to set on a higher time frame. And then same thing here, though we might be watching the tick indicator. And then finally up here, we'll have QQQ, which we'll put on a 5-day. So again, similar sort of framework of having smaller charts off to the side and one detail view, but flexible grid allows you to kind of invest chart space accordingly, to not put too much space because of the rigid kind of grid requirements. All right, you could put a 20th of your screen. If that's all that you really need is some quick view of what SPY is doing at a glance, hide that off in the corner of your screen, absolutely. And the flexible grid is what gives you the ability to resize and kind of create accordingly so that you're not dealing with a bunch of blank space or charts that are improperly sized. Yeah. For traders who are looking for a watch list, obviously, if you did this within the main window, you'd have access to the tray off on the left-hand side that you could pull open. You can also create a floating version of that watch list, certainly. You just detach window in the same way when I want to clone a window. I simply go up here to the Actions menu and choose Detach. You do the same thing, but for a watch list. So again, we're using the rigid grids for any time we're viewing a lot, like a fixed watch list of stocks or positions. That's maybe another way you could theoretically use something like this if we kept them all set on a shorter term time frame. You could theoretically type in different positions that you had throughout the day that you wanted to monitor. So again, using the flexible grid and these kind of smaller windows to juggle other positions while you're rotating through, you know, different charts that you might want to be trading. Oops. If you're navigating with the main chart, dedicating a little bit of your peripheral vision to these others on the side, I think is really valuable. And all it takes is a little bit of setup with that flexible grid. You could dedicate some charts along the side to market internals, if that's your thing, like you saw me type in the tick indicator there. And if you ever decide, for example, I don't need any of these on the side here, you can just double click on the title bar and you've zoomed in, you've got one chart that you can focus on. And when you're ready, unzoom out and your positions or your other tracked securities are right there on the side. And obviously the bigger the monitor you have, the more in terms of natural just screen real estate you've got to work with, which can be really helpful at not requiring you to rotate through different charts or like manually type in different tickers or move windows out of the way. It's very easy to forget during the day. It's very easy to get lost in that shuffle, at which point you've missed out on an opportunity or you've missed something moving that you had a position in. Don't give yourself that option, right? Try and keep as many things visible on the screen within reason while still keeping them visible, of course.